we're in kind of a crazy place right now.
Yes.
So can you put that in your terms?
In general, we here in the States, we live in a very yang-oriented society. Yang is fast and dynamic, and it's moving, it's energy, it's frenetic. That's yang, and we live in a society that operates this way and also values this type of movement and way of showing up in the world. Constant movement. Yin is the other side of that. We have internal and external pathological factors. The external factors are those things around us that can make us unwell. The internal pathogenic factors are strong or heavy and sustained emotions. We can make ourselves unwell with our own emotions.
Hillary, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Likewise,
You've
Stacey.
been my acupuncturist for several years.
Yes.
And so it's a great honor to be here and have you share this.
The honor is mine.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
So I want to start by asking you a little bit about your own journey,
Yes.
towards acupuncture.
Yes. I was teaching yoga for a number of years, and there came a point where I wanted to broaden my horizons and potentially be able to help more people. Then I went and worked in the PT office, and I didn't love it. But while I was working in that office, I was talking to a lot of PT patients who were concurrently receiving acupuncture services. And I was hearing a lot of great feedback from people talking about how their acupuncturist was like a lifeline to them and how much it had changed their lives, acupuncture. And so I became curious.
Okay, and had you done acupuncture yourself?
Actually, no.
Oh, interesting.
Which was kind of a funny part of the story, where I walked in, I saw what was going on, and I just said immediately, yes, this is for me. And that same day I was calling my husband and saying, I'm going to quit my job. Again, I was working at the PT office, had a stable job, getting a paycheck, getting benefits. I said, I have to go to school, I have to study this.
Wow.
And I signed up, and that was it, and I never looked back. I'm so sure that I'm meant to be doing what I do, and I love it. I feel grateful every day.
That's amazing. Did you have any mentors or anyone who inspired you, helped you along the way, encouraged you?
I'm in a cohort of 12 people when I was in acupuncture school, and it seemed that although it's deep study, I mean, it's an intensive course of study to study Chinese medicine and acupuncture, but for me, I was so fascinated by it and so motivated by it that it never felt like a struggle. Even the intensive academic, didactic aspects of it were just so exciting for me throughout. And I never had any doubts, which is, I think an unusual experience, because I know all of the people around me, certainly the people in my cohort, were at times, full of doubt and wondering what they had gotten themselves into, and feeling frustrated by it. And I felt all throughout school exhilarated by the medicine and by the potential.
Amazing.
Yes.
What were some stories that really inspired you when you were in the PT office or in school?
So when I was, I'll go back a little earlier than that. When I was in my early 20s is when I started. I'm going to rewind back to when I decided to become a yoga teacher, because I really feel that what I do now is an extension of that earlier work. And you had asked me earlier about coming to this work through my own healing journey. And I can say that when I started to practice yoga, which I was in my early 20s, that for me was a big life changer and a lifeline to me at that time. When I was in my early 20s, I was on my own. I had come from some dysfunction in my family, and I was pretty lost, I would say. I think probably like a lot of people in their early 20s, but finding yoga and finding meditation was something that gave me a new way and helped me immensely through my own challenges and helped me to find a way to manage anxiety and depression, which I had struggled with as a teenager. So it was that is where I feel my path really started in this direction. So for me, that was, finding yoga, finding meditation. It changed my life. And then years later, when I decided to take the plunge and become a teacher, it was not my plan to start teaching out of school. I really just wanted to deepen my studies. But then I passed the training. When I came out of the training, there were opportunities to teach. I took them, and it turned out that I really liked it, and I was actually pretty good at it right out of the gate. So acupuncture, Chinese medicine, is very similar to the study of yoga and Ayurvedic medicine, it turns out. I mean, these are two ancient medicines, two ancient traditions that hail from a similar or proximal corner of the world, proximal to each other. And so there are a lot of parallels.
Seems like it was meant to be.
Absolutely, yes. Everything, when I think back on my path, everything along the way was a stepping stone to get to the next thing. And for me, it feels very clearly delineated how I got from there to here.
And what was one of the most significant stories you heard as a PT, in the PT office kind of opened the door for you or opened your eyes to acupuncture?
Really, it was more the way that people would speak about their experiences in acupuncture, or would speak about their acupuncturist, kind of in a dreamy in a way that I would just remember being just being curious about where that was coming from, where they would talk about acupuncture, that it was more than, let me back it up, but there was more than something physical happening in the acupuncture office. They were coming to PT and, going through the motions of PT. I'm not negating the value of PT, but it's very straightforward, and you're there and you're rehabilitating, a part of the anatomy. You're doing the appropriate exercises. You're applying heat and ice. But when they would tell me about their experiences in acupuncture and how it made them feel, I could tell there was more to it than just the physical, and that that's always something. That's something that's always interested me.
Can we?
Holism.
I know those are holism.
Yes.
I think that's a really good word.
Yes.
Which is not always easy to talk about in words, I find.
Right.
But I'm wondering if you could give that a shot. Like what is that kind of feeling?
The feeling and the understanding that the body and the mind are one, and some might even say the body, the mind, and the spirit are one. And certainly, the talk of spirit is embedded into Chinese medicine. So and again, this is also a concept held in yoga and Ayurvedic medicine. So I was already familiar with this concept. It was a part of my personal philosophy, and it's something that had long interested me, that holistic modalities, holistic medicine, and the idea that all is connected. So
would you say that's at the foundation of acupuncture, that all is connected?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Can you say a little bit more about that?
Sure. All is connected, and balance is the key to good health, happiness, and well-being.
I don't know much about Chinese medicine, so if you could explain it to me like I'm completely new.
Well, Chinese medicine has many parts. Acupuncture is one of those parts. And the basic philosophy of Chinese medicine is, again, that good health, well-being depends on balance. We talk about the concepts of yin and yang, and according to Chinese medicine, everything in the natural world has aspects of yin and aspects of yang, and these two complementary opposites uphold each other and balance each other. And that holds true in the human body, in the human organism, and in all living things, and in the universe, in the cosmos. All things are governed by the balance of yin and yang. And and so when we're talking about health through the lens of Chinese medicine, we're looking to see where yin and yang are balanced relatively or not within the person. And there's so much to say about Chinese medicine.
Right. Yeah.
It's complex, and yet it's very simple at its heart too, because it really does come back to balance.
Yeah, and I find that, I come here again because it feels good.
Yes.
I don't really ask any questions. Like, I don't need it explained to me.
Yes, right.
I'm like, yep, feels good.
Yes.
I know I need to go.
Yes.
And it's sort of an intuitive sense, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
I think that is true, I think, for most people.
Yeah.
Most people, I think, are pleasantly surprised when they come to acupuncture for the first time to find out that, first of all, it's not so uncomfortable or difficult. In fact, it's really mostly, I'm sure you can agree, painless, easy procedure.
For me, it's extremely meditative too.
Yes, and then exactly, and then it helps people come into this state of deep calm and rest.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the most pleasant surprise for people who are new to acupuncture. Mm-hmm. But that is the typical result.
Yeah. No, there are many times where I'm like, oh, I need to text Hillary and tell her she totally fixed me.
Oh, oh, I love to hear it. That's wonderful. Yeah,
I do sometimes, but a lot of times I forget, so I'm sorry.
Well, don't be sorry. Now, just knowing that here today is so good. And and people will come, and this was something I did here when I was working in PT, and I was talking to patients. They're telling me about their acupuncturist and their experiences with acupuncture, and I noticed that many people will put their acupuncturist on a pedestal, and that happens to me too in my practice. And I think it's because the medicine is so powerful, and there's also a lot of magic and mystery to it, which is one of the things I'm drawn to the most about it. But there's also, of course, a science to it, and there's an art to it, because there is a lot of intuition involved in treating people. And what I want to say is that so I think people tend to put their acupuncturist on a pedestal. As I said, it has happened to me, because they think that what you're doing in the room is something magic, that you are somehow working your magic on them, and then they start to feel so much better. And that's really not that. It's, I tell my patients all the time that we are a team, and really it's a collaborative effort. The needles are a nudge to the body to return to balance, return to optimal functioning. And so really it's the magic of the body that each of us inhabit, that the person is experiencing after the treatment. How the body is always trying to return to its center and always trying to restore balance. With acupuncture, we can give it a little support in doing that and nudge it in that direction.
Yeah, and I think it's really helpful for people to understand it that way.
Yes.
I think that actually helps the healing process.
Yeah, absolutely.
To have a sort of grounded understanding of it.
Absolutely, and I think it is empowering too for people to understand that this is what our bodies do.
Yes.
This is what our bodies can do. We can heal.
Yeah.
We can heal. And of course, again, acupuncture is just a slice of the pie. When I am working with a client, sometimes if it's appropriate, we're talking about lifestyle changes, where I'm, in some cases, administering other modalities, cupping and moxibustion, to name a few. And so there are a lot of tools in the toolbox that we can pull from.
Do you mind if we circle back to you for a moment?
Oh, sure.
So I know in my own experience, having been in energy healing school, that often we're drawn to a practice, which becomes really like part of your life because of some earlier experiences in life. And I'm just curious if you've had that sort of full circle experience with, being a practitioner, and how that somehow has helped you also to heal maybe some early wounds, if you're willing to talk about that.
Yes. So, like I was saying earlier, I did have some difficulty in my earlier life. And as a teenager, I experienced anxiety, I experienced depression, and there wasn't anyone there, there was no help being offered. So I had to just sort that out on my own. And of course, you know, at that time in one's life, it's generally a tumultuous time to begin with. And I didn't have a good support structure at home, and it only made things worse for me in that regard. I left home as soon as I was out of high school. I was, you know, I was 1 foot out the door throughout high school, and then when I was 18, I was out the door, and then I was kind of living on, you know, from here to there, sleeping on friends' couches. And like I said, I was in, it was a moment in my life where I was lost. I didn't know what was coming next, and there was no plan. You know, there was no plan, certainly no support from my family of origin. So as a young person, with some, again, personal struggles and without support, I had to find my way. And my boyfriend at the time introduced me to the practice of yoga. And through that, I became interested in meditation. I became interested in Eastern philosophy. And incidentally, I even minored in Asian studies when I was finishing up my undergraduate degree. And with no plan to, of course, at that time to go on to study acupuncture or even yoga, but that came later. So for me, that was really the turning point, was when I started to study yoga, and from there, study philosophy, study meditation, study pranayama, breath work. And that really changed my life. In that, it changed those symptoms that I was experiencing, symptoms of, for example, anxiety and depression and all that comes with that. It changed my mindset, and that changed my life, changed my physical symptoms too, associated with those things. So,
are you still friends with the boyfriend?
I'm actually married to him.
Oh, I was going to say, oh.
We've been together a long time.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But yes.
What's his name?
Eli.
Eli.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, you know, I've had this experience of like sort of these angels popping into my life, and then sometimes staying and sometimes popping out, but this one stayed.
He stayed. He certainly did.
Oh.
He certainly did. Yes. So that, like I said, that was the big turning point for me. Everything that came after that was like an extension of just the next, like I said earlier, like a stepping stone onto the next. Intuitively, I moved along the path to where I am now. At least that's how it has felt for me.
It feels very, I mean, maybe this is too much of a assumption, but it feels very guided to me.
Yes, I think so too. I've always felt that way in my life. I feel very lucky to be where I am, because it certainly could have gone, I think, a very different way for me.
Sure.
And I feel guided. And I have always felt that way, even from the time I was a child.
Were you a rebellious teen?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And I've always been, you know, drawn to maybe the less understood aspects of our existence here.
Yeah.
And I've been drawn to the magic and the mystery around life. And from the time I was a child, and I've been drawn to nature, and I've been drawn to all of those things that, you know, again, the metaphysical, spirituality, you might call it. And so all of this has just been, again, a natural extension along my path.
It's beautiful. I love that that was your boyfriend. It's your husband now.
I know. I mean, I was wording it that way. I thought, I had a boyfriend. I go, well, I still have that boyfriend, don't I?
Oh, that's so sweet. And can I ask, you know, as a practitioner, because I've have a lot of experience with different types of practitioners.
Yes.
I really do find, you know, that you bring a certain energy to the room. So I'm just curious, is that something that you intentionally cultivate? Do you just talk a little bit about how a practitioner, prepares.
Yes. So for me, it's very important that when people are on my table, people are in my room, that I'm holding space for that person appropriately. And I like details. I'm detail oriented, and I believe that every aspect of the environment and all of the details therein are either going to enhance the person's healing experience or detract from it. So it is my top priority to create an environment where a person feels safe and heard and cared for.
And how about your own, like in energy school, we have a certain meditation that we do before we even step into before we even start thinking about the client, before they even get there. Is there any similar practice for you?
Yes, and that has been a part of my life since I years ago started practicing yoga and meditation. I think it is important and this is of course a big part of the education and acupuncture school too, is learning. I mean, we're working with energy. Same as your experience. We're working with energy, and we're learning how to transfer energy, and we're learning how to feel our own and cultivate our own, and then be able to direct our own. And I think these are important practices, and it creates presence in the practitioner and intention in the practitioner, and all of that is so important in the room and in the treatment. So for me, it's just a natural part of what I've been doing, what I was doing first as a yoga teacher before I would stand in front of a room of people and guide them through a class. It's the same concept, same principle today before I'm entering a room with a patient. That I'm grounding myself. It's a big part of doing this work, I think, is having boundaries, and part of that is grounding oneself, and also making self-care a priority. Because holding space, of course, can be emotionally demanding, and treating pathology can be emotionally demanding. And you're seeing people who are in pain, and people who are vulnerable, and people who are struggling every day. And so, again, you have to have firm boundaries, strong boundaries within yourself, and you have to, I think, find time to practice what you preach and engage in self-care, grounding, centering, so that you can be present for your patient and create that space that they need to then feel safe and be able to relax and release.
So there's a lot of intentionality that goes into this practice.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As opposed to like rushing out the door, being late for work, coming into the office, being kind of annoyed, which is, I think,
yes.
How maybe a lot of people operate, right?
Absolutely. And I think I'm also motivated by the work itself, and I'm energized by the work itself. So maybe if I were doing a different job, I might come in with that. People often I might come in with that energy, and people often say to me here when I'm in the room with a patient, I hear a lot from people, you're so calm, you're so grounded, your children must enjoy having such a calm mother, and I chuckle and think, well, I might look a little different at home, and that's not to say, generally my energy, my air is pretty calm, but when I come here, I think this is maybe where I'm my most calm, and I also feel very safe here, and when I feel safe in the presence of my patients, my clients, and I think it is in part just that I love what I do so much that it motivates me, it energizes me, and even when it's demanding, even when it's a challenge.
So maybe it's like the joy of the challenge.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So can we talk a little bit specifically? You mentioned yin and yang and some of the elements of Chinese medicine.
Yes.
What are some things that clients come to you with? We talked a little bit about fertility.
Yes.
Because I'm sure there's a list of. Are there? So let me ask it this way: Are there certain kinds of conditions that people come to you with generally that you find most common in people?
So most common is pain. Most people are coming with physical pain, and that's usually what gets most people through the door. However, once I start working with that person in the room and we start talking, and the needles also have a way, maybe you've noticed, of bringing things to the surface that maybe weren't there at first, but as people start to feel more comfortable with me also and we're developing rapport, oftentimes there's more story behind the pain. And that's expected. It's all, of course, there's always a bigger picture than just one symptom. As in Chinese medicine, we're trying, as practitioner, trying to discern a pattern, a bigger picture. But I would say that pain is the number one reason that people are coming for acupuncture treatment. And after that, it's anxiety, stress, and burnout. And often those things are happening in concert with the same person.
So are these people generally, I mean, we're in the New York, New Jersey area.
Yes.
So it's not a low stress place to live and work.
That's right.
So are you finding that, it's usually professionals who are coming in who just don't really have time for self-care?
It's all kinds. It's all kinds. My patient population is incredibly diverse. However, I would say that most of the people I treat are middle-aged and carrying all that comes with middle age, work stress and family stress and aging parent stress and children's stress. But yes, stress is a common theme. And of course, stress underlies every disease process, really. I think it's fair to say that.
And the kinds of pain, is it usually back pain, or it varies? Or
it varies. I do treat a lot of back pain. I treat headaches, people with TMJ disorder, and joint pain, and everything else. And I often get the question in the room, what else can acupuncture treat, or what is acupuncture good for? And the short answer is everything. It really can treat everything, because it's about nervous system regulation. That's really at the heart of it. To put it in modern terms, we're talking about nervous system regulation. Balancing yin and yang in the body equates to nervous system regulation. So we're taking a person out of that sympathetic state of fight or flight or freeze and bringing them into the state of rest and digest, the parasympathetic state. And when a person's in this state, and especially with continual or consistent treatment, it's setting the stage for then, again, the body to take over and do what it knows how to do, which is to heal.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So that's the magic of acupuncture. That's what appears like magic often to the person who is receiving the treatment. And and I'll hear again and again from people, especially, someone who's starting to come, and even if they've had acupuncture before in the past, but when people get on a steady course of treatment, they start to feel better overall, and often in ways that are surprising to them, because again, they might have come in the door because of a sore shoulder, and then within a few weeks, the shoulder's feeling better, but they also are sleeping better and feeling generally more happy, and they have more energy for their day or more focus. And these are all the unexpected, pleasant side effects of acupuncture. So and again, it speaks to how it is a holistic medicine, and we're treating the whole person. And so that is a very exciting thing to be a part of for me as a practitioner.
That's beautiful. You sounded very excited about fertility.
Oh yes, right. So fertility is one, and fertility-related issues, one of the most exciting parts of my practice. And I think if you ask most acupuncturists, they would agree. This is one of the best parts of our job, is that we get to be a part of helping families conceive, and it's effective. It's powerful and it's effective. And it's one of the ways that we as acupuncturists can help people. And it's a little different than treating pain and pathology. It has a different air around it. And certainly there are a few things more gratifying, again, as an acupuncturist, than hearing those words, "I'm pregnant," from someone that, from a woman that you've been working with, sometimes a couple that you've been working with, that, they want it. They want it badly, and maybe they've tried other things. Oftentimes I'm working with people who are going through IVF. Sometimes they've been through multiple rounds of IVF, and they're tired, and they're frustrated, and sometimes disheartened. And how wonderful it is to sometimes be able to help them get to the outcome they want.
So are they coming to you kind of as a last, like a sort of, I don't know what else to try? And
sometimes,
yeah,
sometimes, yeah, and that's, by the way, generally true too. A lot of people find their way to acupuncture because they've tried everything else, and they've run out of options.
Okay,
and
interesting.
And sometimes it's a case of conventional medicine, allopathic medicine has nothing left to offer. And again, they're in a place where they don't feel well, or they're still having pain, or they feel that something isn't right. Maybe somebody then suggests acupuncture, or they see it online and they come and they say, "You're my last resort." And that's always exciting for me too, because I know how much potential there is.
Yeah.
And I love seeing people, especially those who might be skeptical coming in the first time, or even the needle phobic people. I've had a number of people convert who came in saying, "I'm not going to like this. I don't like needles. I don't like anything about this idea. But again, I'm desperate, and you're my last resort." And then and I have a number of clients who came in that way, and they're still with me today, years later, coming in, looking forward to their bi-weekly appointments, and and making it a central part of their lives. Yeah.
Can we break down how the process works with fertility?
Sure.
So let's say you have somebody on the table,
yes,
who's come to you for treatment. Are you going by your intuition? Are you going by, these are the points that work for this, or how does that unfold?
It depends. It depends where we are in the journey. Usually, always treating according to the pattern. So we're in anything, in any case, we're trying to discern the pattern as a practitioner of Chinese medicine, trying to discern the pattern and then treat the pattern. So when a woman is coming to me and she, let's say, has been trying to conceive, and she said that she wanted to try acupuncture or add acupuncture to her regimen, trying to prepare for conception, then I'll tell her we can expect to work together for a few months. We're going to talk about her cycle. We're going to talk about all the aspects of her life and her health. And again, trying to understand what the pattern is, treat the pattern. But when we're treating something like fertility, or infertility, I will tell the client to expect to come. You're coming to see me regularly for a few months. And sometimes a person might get pregnant within that time, of course. Because again, acupuncture is helping the body return to balance and helping the body to remember how to function optimally. So just in that alone, pregnancy sometimes happens long before I'm expecting it to, just in the process. But if there are irregularities in the woman's cycle, we want to address that. We talk about what her diet is like. There are a few, of course, prevalent patterns. When we're talking about infertility, it's the same handful of patterns generally.
What are those?
So, I mean, this may not make sense because it's in the language of Chinese medicine, but one of the patterns we see often when it comes to infertility is a state of internal cold.
I was so hoping you were going to go there. Yeah, okay. I love that.
Okay, which is considered a deficiency pattern in Chinese medicine. So then we want to help the woman to warm herself, and we're going to use acupuncture, moxibustion, diet, and simple lifestyle changes like making sure to wear socks to keep your feet warm.
So does cold in Chinese medicine mean literal cold? Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes. So cold is, getting back to the concepts of yin and yang, cold would be an excess of yin, because yin is considered the cooling, moistening aspect of the yin-yang continuum. So when there's cold, that means it's too much. There's, cold is an extreme state. And what cold does is it causes things to constrict and congeal, just as in the natural world. And we see when the world is frozen, everything hardens and tightens. And the same is true within the body. So when the presence of cold is there, things are frozen. Things are not flowing. And we, especially in the case of infertility, we need things to be flowing, to be functioning.
What are some outside influences that might cause cold in a woman's body?
So diet plays a big role. One of the most basic tenets of Chinese medicine, you'll hear every Chinese medicine practitioner telling their clients over and over again, is stop drinking cold drinks and eating cold and raw foods. And many people are doing this with good intentions, of course, but and I might even go so far as to say many women are doing this, especially perhaps starting their day with a cold smoothie, then maybe having a raw salad for lunch. And it all sounds good on paper. These are healthy, nutritious things to eat, perhaps, but too much cold and raw is taxing the body in a way that's pulling energy away from the other systems of the body to assimilate the cold food, the cold drink. That it takes an enormous amount of energy for the body to assimilate that. So again, it's just about creating balance. If there's too much, if a woman's eating and drinking cold foods and drinks all the time, she could be aggravating the already existing pattern of cold.
So many questions are coming to me.
Just
as a little side,
there's so much to say.
Yeah, as a little side question, are you a believer in cold plunges? Because I know that's a big trend.
Yeah, I can't say that I am a believer. Not that I would ever tell someone if they love cold plunging and they feel good doing it. I wouldn't come between that. But if a woman were coming to me because she was having trouble conceiving and was then telling me she was getting into a cold plunge every week or every day or however people are doing cold plunges, I would say probably not a good idea. Not right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find that men in the same couple are presenting with a similar deficiency, or
Oftentimes, to be honest with you, I don't get to meet the man in the couple.
Okay.
And I can't comment on that, whatever the reason may be, but oftentimes, and there have been examples, there have been instances where I have worked with both partners, when in an infertility case.
Do you advise couples to both?
Absolutely, absolutely. But male clients, men can, I think, tend to be a little perhaps shy or uncomfortable about this, and sometimes they're just not on board
With the fertility aspect in general, or acupuncture in
I think
overall,
the fertility aspect, yes.
Yeah. Do you generally?
I have plenty of male clients.
Plenty of male clients.
Plenty of male clients, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when it comes to infertility, that's a little different.
Okay. So cold is a common pattern among women with infertility.
And women are just naturally more yin. So women tend to be internally cold. I see that pattern more in women. I can't
interesting statement.
and I can't speak to if that's the rule across the board, but certainly in my clinical experience, that is the case.
And how does that? Can we and maybe not, but can we translate the concept of cold in Chinese medicine to something we can relate to in Western or Western language? I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. I think it helps to think of it in terms of deficiency and excess, or what one of my teachers used to prefer to say, vacuity and repletion. So I think because deficiency might have a negative connotation to it, is why this particular teacher, but it means the same. So in cold, it's a deficiency condition, because when things are cold, again, the idea of flow, when I say things aren't flowing, I'm referring to the flow is qi and blood. And again, in Chinese medicine, everything is yin and yang. So even qi and blood, blood with a capital B, is just another embodiment of this same dynamic, the same relationship, with qi being yang and blood, capital B, being yin. But in this case, blood, capital B, is referring to all of the material substances of the body. Blood, but also all of the other fluids and material substances of the body. That's the material aspect, and the qi is immaterial. We don't see qi, we don't, hold it, or, well, I guess we can hold it, but we can't feel it. We can't touch it. We can't smell it. We can't even really measure it, but we can, of course, see the result of it in everything. Because qi is the wisdom of life. It is the vital energy that animates all of the living world, but it is also the wisdom of life. It is the wisdom in every cell in our bodies, and the wisdom of the living world. So
does qi? So qi is the yang aspect.
Qi is the yang aspect, yes.
And you're saying that basically animates the yin.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. One of the analogies that we were taught in Chinese medicine in acupuncture school is that the blood is the mother of qi, and the qi is the commander of blood. The blood gives the qi a home. It's the structure. It's, again, the material. And the qi is the spark. The qi commands the blood.
And can we think of it in male-female terms, yin and yang, or?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. That's another way of understanding yin and yang. Yang is considered the masculine aspect of that continuum, and yin, again, is the feminine aspect. And so, therefore, women are, by nature, according to this paradigm, more yin, and men are more yang. But we all, when you've seen the symbol for the Taijing, for yin and yang, you've seen many people have seen the symbol, black and white, right? And like two Piscean fish curling around each other, right? They belong to one whole circle, and they're feeding into each other, and that's and also within each is contained a dot of the other. So the idea there is that yin and yang are dependent on each other. You need one to hold up the other one, and also to temper the other one, to balance the other one. So when there isn't a balance, that's when, and if we're talking about the human body and human health, that's when symptoms arise and dysfunction occurs, when there isn't a balance.
So can you walk us through the process of actually treating somebody with infertility? Do are you going to go for the feet first? Are you going to go for so walk us through like what you do first. I know you check the pulse, right?
Yes. So the style of acupuncture that I practice is dependent on touch as a means of diagnosis. So in some styles of acupuncture, that means touching the pulse, and in some cases looking at the tongue. But the style of acupuncture that I practice, actually, it comes from a Japanese lineage, and in this style, we're touching the pulse, yes, but also the rest of the body, and touching so-called reflection zones of the body to get some information about what pattern might be underlying. The pulse gives some information about what's going on, but I find more to be found in touching the body. But yes, I would start with the pulse. I would be before that happens, there would be a conversation, and we're talking about the person's lifestyle, what they're eating, what their history might be, and that even includes, on my intake form, there's a question about traumas, and the question specifies that traumas can include physical traumas and emotional traumas, and can be old traumas too, and that all of that comes into play and comes into consideration. So even if I'm talking to a client who's looking to conceive, who wants to conceive, in some cases these things have to be cleared and resolved in order for the person to be able to do that, to be able to conceive. So anyway, getting back to your question, I'm going to be feeling the pulse, I'm going to be feeling the channels, the energy pathways of the body, having the conversation that comes even before any of that happens, and then treating what's there.
And so where might you start with a needle for somebody who has infertility?
In terms of where on the body?
Yes.
So in this style of acupuncture that I practice, we're always treating the kidney channel first.
Okay.
And the reason is because the kidney is the most yin of all the channels, meaning that it's the most internal, because yin is cool. Yin is many things: cooling, moistening, also internal. It's inside, and yang is, by contrast, external. It's on the outside. So we're talking about kidney energy. Kidney is the most yin, and therefore the needles have to be retained the longest. So says my teacher. And this is, again, according to the style that I practice. So I'm always going there first. As it happens, kidney chi and the kidney channel is the channel that one would be using primarily to treat matters of infertility anyway, because the kidney chi governs our reproductive health.
Interesting. And so are we talking about the physical kidneys?
Yes, and more than that. Yes.
Okay. And what's the more than that?
Well, the kidney channel, which is an energetic pathway. It includes the kidney organ, but it is also a pathway. It's a circuit of energy.
And where does that go in the body? All over? Or?
Well, it has like all of the channels, it has all of the 12 primary channels, it has a distinct pathway. The kidney channel happens to start on the bottom of the foot. Again, the most yin of all the channels, with the most yin point. And in this case, when I say yin, I'm referring to being earth-oriented on the bottom of the foot, actually touching the earth. This is where the kidney channel starts, and it travels all the way up to just below the collarbone.
So you might place a needle somewhere on the foot to start?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in the beginning of when I'm starting a treatment, I'm going to be, again, feeling the pulse, not really taking the pulse. You're feeling the pulse for qualities in the pulse. And then I start to touch the body, and I touch the feet, often touch the abdomen, I'll touch around with the neck or the head. And, depending on what the goal of treatment is, depending on what the person has told me, and depending on where I feel called, I'm going to be touching to get more information. And so those first kidney points that I'm placing are based upon what I'm feeling initially.
So can you talk a little bit about what kind of information you're getting? What's happening for you as the practitioner when you're assessing a client like that?
Sure. It's so the kidney points, for example, when I'm feeling for which kidney points to choose, there is a map that I'm following where I'm touching a point on the kidney channel, and if it feels a certain way, or if it's tender, is a word you've heard me say a lot in the room. If it's tender for the person, if they're experiencing it as tender when I'm palpating that point, then I know to choose this group of points, versus if it's not, then I move on to the next, which would be if it's kind of like a mental flow chart. If this, then that.
Okay.
And if not, then we move to this. And then is that cleared? And if not, then we go to, so it happens like that.
I see.
It's one of the things that I really like about the style that I treat. And I am trained in 3 different styles of acupuncture. But
oh, wow.
The style that I practice, which is a style called Kiko Matsumoto style acupuncture, and Kiko is my primary teacher. Her style is really, I think, of course, brilliant, but it follows a clear map of where to go with a patient.
Okay.
So in TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine styles of acupuncture, we're taking the pulse or feeling the pulse, like I said earlier, sometimes looking at the tongue and asking questions to get information about which points to choose. And in Kiko style acupuncture, all of that is coming through, again, through touch, diagnosis by touch.
So the patient is kind of participating.
The patient is participating, but in Kiko style, participating in a more visceral way. Because I'm touching the person and saying, what does this feel like? And the person is going to tell me what they feel, but also I know what I'm feeling beneath my hands. So I'll tell people, I know this is a subjective question. For example, is this tender? But if the person doesn't know how to answer, and sometimes they don't, it's okay. I'm still getting what I need to know from beneath my fingers. And then there are other things that come into play too. We talked moments ago about being cold and what internal cold means, and how do you detect that, discern it. And oftentimes the person's body is cold to the touch. Sometimes it's just the hands and the feet, sometimes it's the abdomen, and sometimes it's all over. And this is something that people are often not aware of. Sometimes they're aware, people might come in and say, oh, my feet always feel cold. But oftentimes they might not be aware that they have cold in other parts of the body, and what that's doing, and how that's influencing the way that they feel day to day.
And do you ever, so there's a map, and do you ever get sort of like sharp insights, like, oh, I need to also work on this person's, neck and head or something, or cranium, or something like that? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And you can feel there is much intuition involved in doing this work, and that comes, or that develops with experience and with practice and touching many bodies. So now when I'm treating a patient, it is like second nature, and I just know where to go, and I feel called, and I can also see from the moment a person walks through the door, I can see where potentially energy isn't moving the way that it should.
So so are you primarily a visual person when it comes to perceiving energy, or do you feel it in your own body? It's
all of the above.
Okay.
I mean, I can assess people visually when I'm seeing them walk through the door, come into the room, and also in acupuncture school, you're taught how to read the body. So we're looking for a number of different signs and signals that the body is giving. We're listening to the sound of the person's voice, looking for what the person's overarching emotion might be. Perhaps even the color of the person's complexion is going to give us all of it will give information about which channels are involved, and where to go and what the pattern of this person might be. So that, and from there, for confirming evidence, then comes the part where I'm touching the person. And that's really where you're going to get the most information. At least for me, that's where I get the most information, is when I'm touching the person.
Interesting. And you mentioned earlier about, somebody who's may need to clear some trauma from their system.
Yes.
In order to get pregnant, in order to move on.
Yes.
And create that flow that you were talking about. Can Chinese medicine help with that? And how much does, a treatment in combination with the person's own consciousness, or does acupuncture help to shift, consciousness?
It does, actually. It does. And when it comes to, you were asking about clearing trauma in order to get pregnant, but really oftentimes we're working to clear trauma to achieve all kinds of goals in acupuncture, in the course of treatment. Oftentimes it is an old trauma that is creating a current block to the resolution of the person's symptoms. So that might be an inability to conceive, or it could be, a chronic symptom, or even, a condition, and an autoimmune condition, for example, or something that's been diagnosed as such. And then again, we start getting into it, and oftentimes there's something there, and in some cases it can be something old from long ago in a person's past that was never fully resolved or healed, or that the person's just still struggling with in the current day. So with acupuncture, we can actually get into that stuff and start to affect change there.
And take me back a little bit to helping people overcome their fear of needles.
Oh yeah, okay. So acupuncture needles are very small. They're gentle. They're bendable, and so very different from the types of needles that we all know from the doctor's office. I tell people that are afraid of needles when they come to see me that, and this is true, the acupuncture needles I use are about the width of a strand of human hair. So very, very small by comparison, 1/100th of the size of a syringe needle. And we're not injecting anything into the body, we're not taking anything out of the body, which I think also gives people some degree of comfort, even the more needle-phobic types. Usually I will just tell people this is no big deal when we have our initial interview, and if I sense any anxiety, and I always ask how people are feeling, if it's their first time being needled. If they tell me that they're feeling anxious, I'll say this is where I tell you that this is really not a big deal. And it is my top priority to make a person feel as comfortable as possible. So I let people know that they are in control the entire time, and as we go, they can tell me if they want me to stop, first of all. If they want me to adjust any needle that I've put in, I can always loosen it. If it still doesn't feel good, I'll take it out and find another way, because there are so many points on the body and so many ways that we can approach.
And so with these points on the body, what's actually happening? So you put a needle in somebody's foot and somehow it's affecting the kidney channel. So can you talk a little bit about we're talking about meridians now, right?
Yes.
So talk a little bit about how that energy pathway works, and just from your perspective.
So that's a good question. It's really, how does this all work? And the short answer is that acupuncture points are areas where there is a rich supply of connective tissue and nerves that, we're moving transmission along these pathways, these chains of fascia, connective tissue, and in doing this, stimulating biochemical change in the body.
Okay. And so is it actual energy moving when you put a needle in, or?
That's a good question. Is it actual energy? So I say to people that there is electricity in the body, and we know this. I believe that qi is the word that the ancient Chinese came up with to describe this electricity that we now know in modern medicine is real and is moving in our bodies and is really what runs our nervous system. And even the heart, right, is running. We're electrical beings as well. So I believe that we're moving chi, we're moving this electricity. So that's a very physical and structural way of understanding how acupuncture works. And along with that, again, when we're inserting acupuncture needles, it causes a cascade of biochemical effects in the body. You know, the body is going to release endorphins, certain neurochemicals that are going to make person feel calm and at ease and create those, that feel-good effect. And also there's a cascade of reparative struggling to find the word right now, but there is a response, a reparative response that takes place when the needles are placed in the body. So it stimulates the body's own capacity for repair and restoration.
And can I ask you a strange question?
Yes.
Does repair, restoration, and the flowing in of feel-good chemicals ever cause a person to resist and kind of go the other way and resist the healing because they've been in a pattern of dysfunction for so long? Because I find that's true with other kinds of healing.
I think that there, although it's rare, it has happened. I can say in my own experience, it has happened mainly in cases where the person coming was coming because someone else told them to come, and they themselves were not totally sold on the idea. And so coming in with some degree of anxiety, yes, but also maybe reluctance, I think can have a bearing on that. And I do think, and this is maybe a separate matter, I think some people are strongly identified with their pain, strongly identified with their trauma maybe. And it can be, and that's a whole separate conversation, I think, and a separate issue. But I think for some people, letting go of that identity can be hard and perhaps a scary prospect too. If you've had, let's say, pain all of your life and you know yourself as a person who has pain, and all of a sudden that pain is no longer there, one would think that's a really good thing and probably life-changing in the best possible way. But for certain types of people, I think that type of change can be scary, and maybe there's a resistance there. And there, of course, are other things that can play into that also. But you get to know all types doing this kind of work, working one-on-one with people and in an intimate way. You get to know all types of people.
Yeah. Do you find that some people come to you, week after week, because they like coming here, or
yes.
Or okay.
That's the people who come week after week, that's exactly why they're coming, because you don't need to come week after week forever. And I would never tell anyone that they do. In fact, I often tell people it's my goal to have you feeling better and out of here as soon as possible, if that's what you want. But of course, for many people, they like to come on some kind of regular schedule. And for some people, it's every week, and some bi-weekly, and some monthly, and some once a quarter. Yeah. And then, of course, many people are coming as needed. But for those who come every week or every other week, they're coming because they like the way that they feel. Oftentimes, we're no longer treating any specific symptom or specific concern. They're just coming on a maintenance schedule. It can be considered preventative medicine, which of course acupuncture does function that way also. But also it's the people who I see on that kind of schedule are coming for what we often jokingly refer to as a tune-up. They like the way they feel after the treatment and for days or weeks after the treatment. And then when they're coming back to see me the next time, it's because they're ready to just top up the tank again.
Makes sense.
Yes.
And so you've had women come to you for fertility issues and they've gotten pregnant.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
That's really exciting.
It really is. You feel like you're a part of the family,
Yeah.
almost, and especially if there's been a long, hard road for the woman, for the family in question. You know, it's just an incredibly gratifying thing. And again, you know, I would never take credit, and any acupuncturist worth their salt would not say, I did this and I helped you. Again, we're just here to help nudge things in the direction that we want to see them go, and of course to understand what that is for each patient. What is the goal? What is the goal of treatment? What is the desired outcome? And if it's conception, then yes, we can help with that. But of course, we're not doing it for you. We're not waving a magic wand. This is just something that was already there and inherent in the person's body, in the woman's body, and we're helping to set the stage for that optimal functioning to happen, and then, you know,
beautiful,
removing the blocks and creating a safe space for her, so she feels, her nervous system feels safe and unguarded, and that's when it can happen.
And that's when
easily.
The flow can.
And that's the flow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it gets back to nervous system regulation. So when a woman is regulated, a person is in a regulated state, that's when real healing can happen and when we're functioning best.
And you mentioned that you treat many people who are in middle age, you know, have been through a lot of life already.
Yes.
Do you find that a similar pattern presents for those people, you know, whether it's hot, heat, cold?
Yes.
And we haven't even touched on the elements. So I'm curious about, you know, whether you could bring that into.
Yes. Yes. Those are always, there's always some aspect of hot and cold because, again, it's yin and yang. We're talking about hot and cold. That's, again, what we're talking about. So trying to discern patterns in any patient is a question of, is there hot, is there cold, is there excess, is there deficiency, where is it, and how is it expressing in this person, and so we treat that. Stagnation is another word that we use a lot in Chinese medicine, and stagnation refers to, of course, the stoppage of flow, the flow of qi, the flow of this vital energy. And qi, being immaterial, is often is always first to become stagnant. It can then eventually become something material, and we call that stasis. And then we get into blood with a capital B, stasis, and that oftentimes presents as pain and dysfunction in the physical body. But that pain and dysfunction is often long preceded by what we refer to as qi stagnation. And that, again, is something that's immaterial. It's energetic. But we can divert that through acupuncture, through Chinese medicine. We can divert those energetic stagnations from becoming, later on, material, physical problems.
And so stagnation, would you say, is a general, can you say that's a general pattern among?
It is a general pattern, yes. And stagnation, by the way, creates heat. And where there's heat and stagnation, if in another area there's relative cold.
Oh, interesting. So the heat and stagnation causes cold in other places.
Yes.
And does that correlate to inflammation by any chance? Because
in some cases, yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Because that's a big problem.
Yes. Right? Yes. But yes, to get back to your question, it is for every patient a question of, is this person presenting hot, presenting cold? Is there more excess? Is there more deficiency? And I say more excess, more deficiency because in most cases there are both existing at the same time in the same person. And again, where there is relative excess in one area, there's often deficiency in another area. So have to consider all of that when treating a patient. And that's every patient, trying to understand what is the balance of yin and yang in this person, and how do we get it back to a more healthful balance.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
It is, and I know that there's a lot of metaphor and poetry in the language of Chinese medicine, another aspect about it that I really love and appreciate. But To the layperson, I sometimes describing these things, I wonder if it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's how open you are to it, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever refer people back to a more conventional treatment if you're finding that acupuncture, is maybe not the right path for them at that moment?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there are cases where I'll be working with someone and it's just not working for them, and that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone responds differently to this medicine, and of course there are other factors that come into play.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the person's lifestyle, and sometimes there are genetic factors,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes there are just simple, facts about, for example, person's age and their general health and level of stress. And sometimes it's none of that, and it just doesn't work the way we want it to for that person. It's rare. In most cases, person's going to experience some degree of relief or some forward movement towards a treatment goal. But in some cases, we meet a number of times and the mark isn't moving. And then, yes, of course, I'll tell someone to consider another modality.
If you had to kind of globalize, the state of balance or imbalance, in the world, yin and yang wise, what's your assessment? Like, do you think that most people have one or the other? That the state of the world is kind of like, we're kind of a crazy place right now. So
yes.
Can you put that in your terms?
Oh, sure. I think so. I think in general, we here in the States, we live in a very yang-oriented society. Yang is fast and dynamic, and it's moving, it's energy, it's frenetic. That's yang, and we know we live in a society that operates this way, and also values this type of movement and way of showing up in the world. That is to say, values movement, constant movement in some cases. And, yin is the other side of that, which calls us to be still and to be quiet and to do less, to do maybe nothing at all. And that's something that I think for many of us, especially I can speak to in this culture, here in the United States, that's something that we don't generally prize culturally, doing less, doing nothing, right? But that is an essential part of leading a healthy life and leading a balanced life, is creating time and creating space for that, for nurturing the yin aspect of our being. We all have a yin aspect and a yang aspect. And as we move through the you said earlier you want to talk about elements, and it's a lot to say.
Yeah.
And we have been talking a long time,
Yeah.
but I'll touch on that to say that the yin and yang concepts are also correlated to the seasons of the year. And when we're looking at the seasons of the year, we correlate yang to the height of summer, the most, of course, hot in some parts of the world, time of the year, and also with that, there's the heat, but also there's the activity and the dynamism that comes with summer life, at least in this part of the world where we tend to be out and about more. There's more daylight to our day, so we're spending more time doing and being with other people and connecting, and oftentimes more time outdoors. But the other side of that is yin, in the deep of the winter. And we are then called to go inward. Staying indoors is part of it, but if we're really nourishing and cultivating our yin at that time of the year, we are also engaging in practices of stillness and contemplation. And that is a good thing, and that is a natural thing, and that is what we're called to do, especially in that time of the year. But even in general, this is the balance that I'm talking about.
So how can one get more balance? If there's really like little time and life is just sort of, on this path of busyness and overdoing.
Well, I think regular acupuncture is a good idea, and finding time to be in nature. If you're asking me personally, I think that's very important, and finding time to be still and be quiet, and carving out time for that, making that a priority, is important. I think that's the part that we're all lacking in to some degree.
And that's not going on Instagram, being still, right?
No, it's not. It's not. Being still means really, unplugging and turning inward and finding stillness within ourselves, and turning away from the external forces around us and stimulation around us, which we're of course exposed to all the time, every day. And again, it gets back to put it in modern terms, it gets back to nervous system regulation. When we're scrolling Instagram, it's affecting our nervous system, whether we realize it or not. When we're watching the news, all of this is affecting our nervous system when we're living our lives. And people get locked in a state of arousal, locked in that sympathetic state where they don't ever come out of it, and then sometimes it's coming to acupuncture, or for me, like it was for me, coming to your first yoga class or sitting down in meditation, it starts to inform a person about where, this other aspect of being that is also an integral part of our being.
Yeah, and I don't want to take us down a whole other rabbit path, but
good.
But I'm so curious. You've talked a lot about the nervous system, and that's making sense to me. How do emotions play a part in Chinese medicine, or do they?
They definitely do. Emotion. So every one of the primary channels in the body is associated with an emotion. So in that way, we talk about emotion in Chinese medicine because sometimes the emotion that we're seeing in a patient can be a diagnostic clue about where the imbalance is channel-wise. And sometimes we can use emotion as a diagnostic indicator. And also we can understand if a person has been living with an overarching emotion for a long time, where there might be some imbalance in the body, and in the body-mind continuum, of course. And emotion is considered in Chinese medicine to be actually a pathological factor. In other words, we have internal and external pathological factors. The external factors are, as you might imagine, those things around us in the external environment that can make us unwell. And the internal pathogenic factors are the emotions, our emotions, strong or heavy and sustained emotion, more specifically. So in other words, we can make ourselves unwell with our own emotions. When they're out of balance, again, I'm talking about heavy and sustained emotion. So there are 5 primary emotions that we're talking about in Chinese medicine.
Which are?
Anger, I'm going to go around the wheel, the elemental wheel. We're talking about anger. There's joy, or the other side of that is lack of joy. There is worry, which also is sometimes talked about as rumination or pensiveness, even too much sympathy. And then from there we have sadness and fear.
And what's the prevalent emotion that people come in with, would you say?
I think it's different for men and women, in my experience. A lot of times I will see women carrying a lot of worry and fear. And men are presenting with anger a lot of the time. But that's not to say that, yeah, of course, you know, there's no hard and fast rule to it. It's just what I've observed anecdotally. Fear is associated with the kidneys in Chinese medicine, and it's associated with the water element of the body. So this kind of fear is like existential fear. It's not fright fear. This is big fear, and this is something that I see a lot of in both men and women. I should clarify. So I think fear is a big one, and of course trauma plays a role in that too. People who have experienced trauma in life, which is to say everybody has experienced some degree of trauma for the most part. There's often a kidney imbalance to be found. Not kidney, the anatomical organ, to be clear, but there's often something going on in the kidney pathway. And again, that's where I go first when I'm treating a patient. Go to the kidney pathway, and it sets the stage. It's because all the channels are interconnected and interrelated, and the elements are all working together, just as yin and yang are moving together and flowing together and working together. So it's like making a soup, and we have to add a little of this and a little of that to get it to taste just right.
Until we get to balance.
So we get to the balance, exactly. Exactly. So that's another analogy I will use sometimes.
So coming to the title of my program, which is On Love.
Oh, yes.
I'm curious how love plays a role in Chinese medicine, or whether it does, and where it comes from, and what the philosophy is around that.
I think so. Personally, if you're asking me personally, I think love is everything. Love plays a role in everything, yes. I think life itself is an expression of love. And in Chinese medicine, as a practitioner of Chinese medicine, I think part of my role is to show up with love for every one of my patients. So for me, the exchange of qi that's happening between me and every patient is an exchange of love.
Did you learn anything about love in acupuncture school? They don't talk about it.
No, they don't use the word love often. They don't use the word love, but it's there. It's there. I think you can't, again, personally, I think you can't really talk about treating people and treating them effectively and helping people and caring for people without having a discussion of love, even if the word is not itself is not being said.
Is there a heart channel? Like, do they talk about the heart in that way?
Yes, yes, but it's in Chinese medicine, the heart channel and the space of the heart is where the spirit mind is said to reside. So the heart is a big deal. The heart is considered the emperor's castle. This is the center of the body in many ways. Interestingly, they don't talk so much about the brain, and there's no channel. There's no brain channel. That the brain is not seen as the commander. It's really the heart. Though the heart, let me be more specific. The heart is considered the emperor because the liver is the commander. But that's another conversation. But the heart is really is in charge. That's where our Shen, our spirit mind, resides. So talking about love, that doesn't come into the conversation so much, but we talk about the Shen, the heart, the emotional heart, often in Chinese medicine. And not surprisingly, if the heart isn't right, the emotional heart, nothing else really can be right either. Yeah.
So is it a place that you would look to?
Yeah, matters of the heart, they do take priority. In some styles of acupuncture, we don't even choose points on the heart channel because the heart is so precious and sacred. We go through the pericardium channel, which is the heart, anatomically the heart wrapper, but in the anthropomorphizing of Chinese medicine, heart is emperor and the pericardium is like the conduit, the liaison to the heart. So we go to the pericardium channel and choose points there in order to affect change in the heart because we don't want to bother the heart. It's again, there's much poetry and metaphor in the medicine, which I think is beautiful.
It sounds like love to me.
Right. Right.
That's
Exactly.
beautiful.
Exactly. Yes.
And do you find that people come in with heart trouble? Is that a place that you see a lot of dysregulation energetically?
Yeah. Well, yes. There's symptoms that are associated primarily with the heart channel in Chinese medicine, or symptoms of anxiety, insomnia, lack of joy, because it is the heart channel, the pathway of the heart that gives us joy. So if there are blocks there, if there are imbalances, we might see the person presenting as flat, a lack of joy. So those are the ways that it shows up. But again, if I'm treating someone who has been through, let's say, severe emotional trauma, I know that there's a heart piece to this equation. So oftentimes I will be choosing points along the heart channel or the pericardium channel, because I do like this idea that we shouldn't bother the heart necessarily, not for all people, but sometimes there's an even gentler way of going there, because it can be just too tender sometimes for some people. Acupuncture often will cause an emotional release to happen as well.
Interesting.
So, and I try to be very sensitive to this, and I try to, my style is a gentle style overall.
For sure.
You can attest.
Yes.
Yes. Not only with the size of the needles I use, and mine are small and gentle, but the way that I needle, the directionality that I needle in, and the idea of not needling into pain directly. Choosing distal points. If a person is in pain, we diffuse that affected area first. And so the same principle applies. If I'm treating someone that I sense is too fragile in that moment, I may not choose to go directly to that person's heart channel, but move in a different direction instead until we energetically open what needs to be opened.
Beautiful. And finally, Hillary, it sounds like you're taking on a lot. You see a lot of different kinds of people, and you hold a lot. How do you, when you walk out of here, how do you take care of yourself? What's your kind of go-to?
I practice what I preach. I try to. And I try to take care of myself with regular acupuncture. Again, meditation. My yoga practice these days, in this moment of my life, really looks more like breathing, sitting and breathing, and meditating, sometimes lying down and meditating and breathing, and again, practicing the cultivation of yin within myself. And I have a busy life. I'm a mother. I have a family. I have a busy practice. I have a lot going on. So finding that balance that way is especially important. And this is what I'm generally telling people all day too. Because again, the busy part is, for most people, that's already happening. That comes easily. Whether we want it to or not, life gets very busy for most of us. And we're most of us moving at this almost constant pace through life. So finding time and carving out time for that, for the practice of stillness and introspection is essential. And I do try to practice that, even if it's 10 minutes a day. And otherwise, spending time in nature. I think I mentioned before, this is something I'll often advise people to do also. For me, it is one of the most healing things that I can do for myself, just to be outside and being in nature. And again, finding time for stillness, for doing less.
Beautiful. Is there anything else that you want to add that we didn't cover?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so
great
much.
to be with you.
This was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you. An honor.
Thank you.